The Galactic Council Chamber was a place of shining light and perfect order. Great banners of alien civilizations floated above the seats. Hundreds of species filled the curved arena, their voices rising in a storm of chatter and laughter. But tonight, the laughter was cruel. It was directed at Earth. In the center stood Earth's small delegation. Only a handful of humans were present, wearing the blue and grey uniforms of the Terran fleet. They looked out of place among the golden armor, shimmering scales and flowing robes of the other species. At the front of the human group stood a single young cadet. His uniform was crisp, but his hands were tight at his sides. He had been sent only to observe, yet now he was trapped in the middle of the storm. A tall, four-armed alien from the Caloran Empire raised his voice. His words echoed through the chamber. "Look at them. Earth dares call itself a warrior world, yet their ships are nothing more than flying scrap. How many warships do they even have? 10? 20? The chamber erupted in laughter. Some species slapped their tails against the floor. Others flicked their wings in mocking applause. Another voice joined in, sharp and cold. It came from a delegate of the Drath Collective, a species of scaled predators. "I have seen their fleet, rusted hulls, weak shields, weapons barely stronger than mining lasers. Humanity survives only because the stronger races ignore them. Let them stay on their little death world and eat dirt." The laughter grew louder, crueler, cutting deeper with every word. Holograms filled the chamber, showing alien dreadnoughts with glowing weapons. The images then shifted to Earth's ships, smaller, older, dark, with patched armor. The contrast brought more laughter. The cadet's chest burned with anger, his jaw clenched, but he said nothing. His orders were clear. Observe, stay quiet, do not speak unless spoken to. But the jeers kept coming. The Caloran leaned forward, his four eyes glowing with smug delight. "Let us be honest, Council. If war ever came to our homeworlds, would you trust these humans to protect you? They would be the first to flee." A cold silence fell. Then the chamber exploded again in cruel laughter. The cadet's knuckles went white. He could feel every sneer, every mocking glance. The alien delegates thought humanity was weak. They thought humans had no place among giants. But deep inside, the cadet felt something they did not understand. Humans were not weak. They were survivors. They were forged on a world that tried to kill them every day. And one day, the galaxy would learn this truth. He almost spoke, but his commander placed a hand on his shoulder. "Not yet," the older officer whispered. "Your time will come. For now, we endure." The cadet swallowed hard and nodded, but the fire inside him only grew hotter. Then the chamber lights flickered. The holograms of fleets and warships vanished. A deep alarm bell rang out, shaking the walls. The sound was not ceremonial. It was a real alarm. Delegates turned to each other in confusion. Voices rose in fear. The great doors of the council chamber sealed shut with a heavy clang. A cold, mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. "Emergency alert! Unidentified ships have entered restricted council space. Repeat, unidentified ships inbound." The laughter stopped at once. The chamber fell into tense silence. The Drath delegate hissed. "Impossible. This system is the most heavily defended in the galaxy." The Caloran stood tall, his arrogance faltering. "Show us the scanners. Show us at once." Holograms flared back to life, but these were not training displays. They were real-time feeds from orbital defenses. On the edge of the system, a fleet of black warships appeared. Their hulls reflected no light. Their engines burned with a strange, unnatural glow. Gasps and cries spread through the chamber. These were not ships from any known empire. Their design was alien, even to the oldest species. One of the council guards muttered in fear. "They do not match any records. They are not ours." The fleet moved in perfect silence, breaking through the outer patrol lines. Defense stations fired, but the black warships cut them down in seconds. The council chamber trembled as the feed showed a massive explosion. One of the outer colonies, guarded by an allied fleet, was wiped out in a single strike. Panic spread. Delegates shouted, wings fluttered, claws scraped the ground. The proud and powerful races who had mocked Earth only minutes ago now shook with fear. The cadet's heart pounded. His instincts screamed. He knew something was coming, something worse than the council could imagine. He wanted to speak, to warn them, but his voice froze in his throat. Then the alarm voice returned, sharper than before. Alert! Council defense fleet destroyed, unknown vessels advancing toward the capital. The chamber erupted into chaos. Commanders shouted orders. Delegates begged for answers. The cadet looked to the hologram again. The Black Fleet was moving fast, cutting through defenses like paper. And then the words appeared across the display. First line destroyed. Enemy approaching central world. The chamber shook again. This time it was not from the alarms. It was from the shock wave of a distant explosion. The cadet raised his eyes. He saw the council's fear. He saw their mocking pride vanish in an instant, and deep inside he knew the galaxy was about to change forever. The chamber lights flickered once more. A single message appeared on the central screen, written in a language no one recognized. The council froze as the words translated into the common tongue. We have returned. The council chamber was no longer filled with laughter, it shook with fear. The alien delegates who once mocked Earth's weakness now clung to their seats, eyes locked on the Black Fleet that grew larger on the hologram. The massive ships cut through the council's defenses with unnatural precision. Their weapons glowed like burning suns, tearing apart anything in their path. Whole defense stations were erased in seconds. The chamber lights flickered again. The words still hovered on the central screen. We have returned. No one spoke. No one moved. The silence was heavier than the thick walls of the chamber. Then a voice broke through. It was the young human cadet. His words were low but clear. You are not ready for this enemy. All eyes turned to him. The alien delegates blinked in disbelief. A human cadet, just a trainee, not even a commander, dared to speak inside the council chamber. The Caloran delegate bared his sharp teeth. Silence, human boy, you will speak only when spoken to. But the cadet did not sit down. His heart pounded, but his voice stayed steady. You mock Earth's warriors. You laugh at our fleet. But your mighty ships are burning right now. Your fleets are gone. And those black ships out there, they will not stop until this world is ash. Gasps filled the chamber. Some delegates hissed. Others roared in anger. The Drath delegate slammed his clawed fist against the table. Arrogant! Little Death Worlder, you dare tell us we are weak? The cadet's eyes burned with determination. Yes, I dare, because I see what you do not. You hide behind your numbers and your technology, but these invaders don't fear your numbers. They don't fear your firepower. They don't even notice your defenses. They cut through you as if you were nothing. His words echoed through the chamber. Many delegates wanted to shout him down, but the truth of the hologram was undeniable. Their fleets had already been crushed. The Caloran snarled. And what do you suggest, human cadet? That your pitiful little warships will do what ours could not? The cadet stood taller. His uniform seemed small, but his voice carried a weight far beyond his rank. I suggest that you stop underestimating humanity. We have fought impossible battles before. We survived a death world where every day is war. If you keep laughing at us, you will all burn. The chamber grew tense. Whispers spread like fire. For the first time, some of the delegates did not laugh. They listened. A heavy voice broke through the noise. It was the council speaker, a towering creature with shimmering silver skin. He rarely intervened, but now his deep eyes rested on the cadet. You claim humanity can fight this threat. Prove it. What would you do now if command were yours? The cadet's throat tightened. All eyes were on him. His commander looked shocked, but said nothing. Slowly the cadet stepped forward. "I would not scatter our forces as you have done," he said firmly. "That is why your fleets were crushed. You fight them like any other enemy, but they are not like others. They move as one mind, one blade. To stop them, we must strike at their heart. We must force them to turn their eyes on us, not on the worlds they are burning." The delegates muttered. Many shook their heads. The Kaloran scoffed. "Reckless! Insane! You would sacrifice ships to protect these walls." The cadet did not flinch. "Ships can be rebuilt. Worlds cannot. Lives cannot. If you keep retreating, you are already defeated." For a moment, silence fell again. The alien leaders stared at the young human, and in their eyes, for the first time, was not mockery, but doubt. Doubt of themselves, doubt of their power. Then the chamber doors burst open. A council guard stumbled inside, his armor scorched, his breathing ragged. "The outer fleets, all destroyed. They are here." The hologram shifted, showing the black warships descending through the system. The largest one loomed like a shadow over the central world. Panic erupted. Delegates ran, guards shouted, alarms wailed louder than before. The cadet looked at the hologram, his fists tightening. He felt fear, but inside that fear was something greater, a spark of defiance. He turned back to the chamber. His voice cut through the chaos. "If you will not fight, then humanity will. Give us command. Give us ships, or watch your galaxy fall." The speaker's silver eyes narrowed, his face unreadable. "You are a cadet, a child among soldiers, and yet your words carry truth." Before the speaker could finish, the chamber shook violently. Dust fell from the high ceiling. The hologram flared red. A new message appeared across the screen, larger than before. "Council capital targeted. Prepare for annihilation." The delegates froze. Their mocking arrogance was gone. In its place was terror, and standing in the center of it all, the young human cadet raised his head high. The chamber lights died, leaving only the glow of the enemy fleet closing in. The council chamber was still dark. The enemy fleet's red warning message burned on the hologram. Council capital targeted. "Prepare for annihilation." Delegates trembled in silence. The sound of alarms filled the air. The strongest fleets in the galaxy had fallen in hours, and now the black warships closed in on the heart of the council. In that silence, the human cadet's voice rose again, calm, sharp, and unshaken. "Then summon Earth's fleet. If you want to survive, call the ISS Valiant." The alien leaders turned in shock. The Drath delegate hissed, his scales rattling. "One human ship? Do you mock us, boy?" The cadet's eyes did not waver. "Not one ship. The first ship. The beginning of something you have refused to see. You mock Earth because you fear what you don't understand." The council speaker raised a hand. "Explain yourself, cadet." The cadet took a breath. His voice grew stronger. "The ISS Valiant is Earth's spearhead. A warship designed in silence, far from your eyes. You never cared to look, because you never thought humans mattered. But tonight you will see the truth." The chamber erupted with voices. Some shouted disbelief, others roared with anger. Yet beneath it all, a thin thread of hope stirred. The speaker turned to the guards. "Signal the human command. Bring this. Valiant." A low hum filled the chamber as a channel opened. The hologram flickered, and then a new image appeared. A massive grey warship, angular and scarred, rising from the shadow of Earth's moon. Its hull bore the flag of the Terran fleet. Its name burned in white letters across the side, ISS Valiant. The alien delegates stared in stunned silence. Many had expected a broken relic. Instead, they saw a giant forged in steel and fire. The ship's captain appeared on the display. He was older than the cadet, his face marked with scars, his uniform dark and heavy with command. His eyes locked on the council. "This is Captain Arden of the Valiant. We received your distress call. We stand ready." The speaker's voice trembled. "One ship cannot stand against an armada." Captain Arden's lips curved into a grim smile. "Then you do not know humanity." The cadet stepped forward, speaking to his captain. Sir, the enemy moves as one. They are not like the others. Their strength is their unity. But unity can be broken. Arden studied him for a moment, then nodded. Cadet Hale, I see they let you into the council chamber. Good, you will be my eyes in this storm. The cadet's heart jumped. His captain had remembered him. The hologram shifted again. The enemy fleet drew closer, cutting through the last defense lines. Dozens of black warships moved in perfect formation, engines burning cold and bright. The council delegates clutched their seats in terror. The Kalorans spat in disgust. This is madness. You cannot stop them with one ship, but then the Valiant moved. It surged forward through the void, engines glowing blue. Its hull shimmered as heavy armor plating locked into place. Giant cannons rose from its sides, humming with power. The alien delegates gasped. This was no rusty relic. This was a warship built for Deathworlders. The cadet's voice cut through the fear. Watch closely. This is humanity's answer. The enemy fleet broke through the last orbital stations. Explosions lit the void as the black ships angled toward the capital world. The council screamed for retreat, but the Valiant did not retreat. It turned to meet the storm head-on. The first barrage came like thunder. The black ships unleashed beams of searing energy. The void lit up with fire. The Valiant's shields flared, groaning under the impact, but they held. Then the Terran warship answered. Its main cannon fired, a beam of pure white light that cut across the darkness. The shot struck one of the enemy dreadnoughts square in the center. The black ship cracked, split, and erupted in flame. The chamber exploded with cries. Delegates leaned forward, eyes wide. For the first time, the enemy bled. The cadet's chest tightened with pride. Humanity had spoken, not with words, but with fire, yet the moment of hope was brief. The enemy fleet shifted, their formation moving like one great beast. They vanished from scanners, their black hulls bending light, slipping from sight. The delegates gasped in horror. Where did they go? The cadet's blood ran cold. He had seen it once before in secret Earth training simulations. They are cloaking. They are not retreating. They are repositioning. The hologram blazed red as alarms screamed across the council world. Suddenly, the black ships reappeared, directly above the capital. Dozens of them, hundreds of them. Their weapons flared to life, aimed not at the Valiant but at the council itself. The chamber shook violently as the first enemy barrage fell. Flames lit the skies above the capital. The cadet gripped the railing, his voice a whisper. They're not here to conquer. They're here to destroy everything. The sky above the council's capital burned. From the great windows of the chamber, alien leaders saw streaks of fire ripping across the heavens. The Black Fleet had appeared out of nowhere, materializing above the planet like a swarm of shadow. Their weapons lit up the night, turning orbit into a storm of flame. Panic filled the chamber. Delegates screamed orders to guards who could do nothing. Some called for evacuation. Others begged the speaker for answers. The proud rulers of the galaxy, who once mocked Earth, now looked powerless and afraid. The cadet stood in the center of the chaos, his fists clenched at his sides. "We cannot wait," he said, his voice cutting through the shouts. "If we hesitate, the capital falls. Humanity must strike now," the Kaloran delegates sneered, even in fear. "Strike with what? Your single warship?" But Captain Arden's voice boomed across the chamber from the hologram. "With one warship, yes, but not just any. The ISS Valiant was forged for this moment." The image shifted to orbit. The Valiant charged through the void, its engines burning brighter than the stars. Enemy fire rained down on it, but the human ship did not flinch. Shields shimmered, armor sparked, but it pressed on. Inside the chamber, silence spread. Every eye was fixed on the hologram. Every alien who once laughed now watched humanity fight. The cadet stepped closer to the display, his voice sharp. "They move as one mind. They expect us to scatter, to run. That is how they win. But humans don't scatter. We strike first." On the Valiant's bridge, alarms wailed. Crew members shouted readings, hands flying across consoles. The captain's face was carved in stone. He gave the order. "Target their vanguard. Fire the main cannon." The deck shook as the warship unleashed its fury. A beam of white light tore from the cannon, brighter than anything the Council had ever seen. It struck the lead enemy vessel. The black ship cracked open like glass under pressure. A shockwave rippled through the enemy formation. The chamber erupted in gasps. The Council had seen many wars, but never had they witnessed the impossible. The invaders, the shadows that tore apart entire fleets, had been wounded by a single human strike. The cadets' hearts surged with pride. Humanity had spoken. Not in words, but in fire, but then the enemy adapted. Their formation shifted, closing ranks. Dozens of black ships swung around, weapons locking on the Valiant. The human warship shuddered as beams of searing energy slammed into its shields. Sparks rained across the bridge. A console exploded, throwing a crewman to the floor. "Shields failing," shouted a voice. "We can't take another volley like that." Arden gritted his teeth. "Then we hit harder. Focus fire on the next dreadnought." The Valiant roared again. Its cannons blazed, missiles streaking through the void. Another black warship was gutted, burning in silence. The chamber shook with cheers from some delegates, disbelief from others. The Drath snarled in awe. "Impossible. They are fighting back." But the cadets' eyes narrowed. Something was wrong. The enemy ships were not breaking. They were surrounding. Slowly, methodically, they were closing the circle around the Valiant. "They're baiting us," he whispered. The hologram flickered red. More enemy signals appeared. Reinforcements warping in, hundreds of them. The speaker's voice broke. "They are endless. We cannot resist." The cadet turned, his voice sharp with fire. "We can, but only if we fight as one. If humanity stands alone, we fall. If the Council stands with us, we have a chance." The chamber wavered in silence. Some delegates lowered their eyes. Others shook their heads. Fear held them prisoner. Captain Arden's voice cut across the hesitation. "They mock you. They mock us all. If you will not fight, humanity will." The Valiant dove through the enemy circle, cannons blazing. Explosions lit the void, tearing black hulls apart. But the swarm was closing fast. Inside the chamber, alarms screamed louder. The planet's orbital defenses were burning. Enemy dreadnoughts aimed their weapons at the capital city itself. The cadet slammed his fist against the railing. "If you do nothing, your world dies tonight." The speaker rose at last, his silver form glowing in the dark. "Then prove it, human. Hold them long enough for our fleets to regroup. If you fall, we all fall with you." The cadet's voice was steel. "Then watch. Watch what humanity does when pushed to the edge." The hologram flared again. The Valiant broke through the circle, its cannons charging for another strike. For a moment, hope flickered, but then the enemy revealed their hand. The Black Fleet shifted as one. From the shadows behind them, a new ship emerged, larger than the rest. A behemoth of black metal, bristling with weapons. Its size dwarfed the Valiant tenfold. Its engines pulsed with a light that made even the bravest hearts falter. The chamber fell into horrified silence as the new warship appeared. The cadet whispered the words none dared say aloud. "That is their flagship." The chamber was silent. No laughter, no jeers, no sound at all. Every alien delegate stared at the hologram in frozen fear. The enemy flagship had arrived. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The black warship was so massive that it blotted out the stars. It dwarfed the ISS Valiant, as if humanity's proudest vessel were only a child's toy. Its surface crawled with strange symbols, glowing red like veins of fire. The cadet felt his chest tighten. Even from across the void, he could sense it. The ship was alive, and it radiated hunger. On the Valiant's bridge, Captain Arden stood unshaken. His crew looked to him with fear in their eyes. "Lock scanners on that monster," he ordered. "I want to know what we're facing." The screens flickered with data. The ship was shielded in ways they had never encountered. Energy signatures twisted and bent, as if the laws of physics bent around it. A technician whispered, "Sir, I don't understand these readings. It's not just metal. It's something else. Something alive." The cadet's blood ran cold. He stepped closer to the hologram in the council chamber. "It's not a warship. It's a weapon. A weapon designed to erase civilizations." The delegates turned to him, eyes wide. The Kaloran sneered, though his voice shook. "You speak as though you know them, human." The cadet's jaw tightened. "I don't know them, but I know their strategy. They don't conquer. They don't occupy. They erase. That is why your fleets were destroyed so easily. They've done this before." The Drath delegate hissed, his scales rippling. "Before? What do you mean?" The cadet met his gaze. "They've fought other civilizations long before us. Entire species may have been wiped out, erased from history. And now they've come back to finish what they started." The chamber filled with whispers. Delegates shivered as if ghosts stood behind them. The idea was unthinkable. Entire empires erased so cleanly that none remembered them. On the Valiant, scanners suddenly cracked through the shield veil of the flagship. Faint echoes of ancient signals pulsed through the void. Buried inside the enemy's transmissions were fragments of language. The technician's face went pale. "Sir, these signals aren't new. They're old." "Very old," Arden frowned. "How old?" "Thousands of years, maybe more." The cadet's heart pounded. He turned to the council, his voice heavy. "They've been here before. Long ago, and you forgot them. Or maybe they made you forget." The speaker's silver eyes glowed faintly. "Are you saying these are not new invaders, but the old shadows? The ones we only whisper about?" The cadet nodded. "Yes, they are the ones your ancestors feared, and they remember you." The chamber fell into deep silence. Above the capital, the flagship stirred. Weapons along its hull lit up in sequence, glowing like 1,000 suns. The Valiant sensors screamed. "They're charging a super weapon!" On the bridge, alarms rang out. Captain Arden slammed his fist on the console. "Evasive maneuvers. All power to shields." The cadet gripped the railing in the chamber, his voice sharp. "If that fires, the capital will be gone. Millions will die in seconds." The Kaloran snapped in rage, his pride collapsing. "Then stop them. Fire everything you have," the Valiant responded. Its cannons roared, missiles streaked across the void, beams of light cut into the dark. The first barrage slammed into the flagship's shields. Sparks cascaded across its surface, but the monster barely flinched. The cadet's eyes narrowed. "It's not working. They're too strong." Then, as the Valiant's crew searched for weaknesses, the scanners revealed something strange. Buried beneath the black hull, inside the heart of the flagship, was a massive chamber. It pulsed with energy, but not mechanical, biological. The technician gasped. "Sir, the flagship has a living core." Arden's eyes sharpened. "A weakness? Maybe, but it's buried deep. We'd need a boarding team to reach it." The chamber erupted in disbelief. Delegates shouted over one another. Boarding a ship that size was suicide. No sane commander would attempt it, but the cadet's voice cut through. "It's the only way. If we don't stop that core, this planet is finished. No fleet can stand against that weapon." The speaker looked at him, his silver skin trembling with light. "You would send humans aboard that horror?" The cadet's eyes burned with fire. "Yes, because humans don't give up. We fight where no one else dares. We survive what no one else can. If you want to live, give the order." For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. Delegates who once mocked humanity now stared at the young cadet, their fear mixing with something else, respect. On the hologram, the enemy flagship's core flared brighter. Its weapon reached full charge. The chamber shook as the flagship aimed its weapon directly at the capital world. Captain Arden's voice rang out, "Prepare the boarding teams. Humanity goes in." The chamber quaked as the enemy flagship charged its weapon. Delegates screamed, clutching their seats as the hologram burned red with warning signs. On the ISS Valiant, Captain Arden's voice thundered. "Boarding teams, stand ready. Humanity moves first." The alien delegates looked at one another in disbelief. No one volunteered. No one dared. But the cadet stepped forward. His voice was calm yet sharp as steel. "I will go." The council erupted in protests. The Kaloran slammed a clawed fist against the table. "A cadet? You would send a child against that abomination?" The cadet's eyes never wavered. "I am not a child. I am a human. And humans fight when the universe thinks we should fall." For the first time, the chamber was silent, not out of mockery, but out of awe. The speaker leaned forward, his glowing skin trembling. "If humanity dares to strike, the Council will not forget. Go, human cadet, show us your courage." On the Valiant, preparations began. Dropships were armed. Marines stood in black armor, rifles glowing with energy packs. Their helmets reflected the lights of Earth displayed on the holoscreens. Each soldier stood tall, knowing what waited for them. A living nightmare aboard the flagship. Captain Arden addressed them. "We are outnumbered. We are outgunned. But we are not out of fight. The enemy believes fear will break us. They are wrong. Today, humanity shows the galaxy what we are made of. Today, we rise." The dropships roared out of the Valiant's launch bay. Engines flared, cutting across the void. Behind them, the warship's cannons lit up once again, hammering the flagship's shields to create a distraction. The cadet sat strapped into one of the lead dropships, heart pounding. Around him, human Marines checked weapons and armor. One soldier placed a hand on his shoulder. "First time dropping?" The cadet nodded. "Yes," the soldier chuckled, voice steady. "Don't worry. It's everyone's first time against something like this. Just remember, we don't die easy." The flagship loomed larger and larger as the dropships closed in. Its surface twisted and shifted like black flesh. Strange red eyes blinked open across its hull, tracking them. Suddenly, beams of light slashed from the flagship, tearing through the void. A dropship exploded, fragments scattering like sparks. The cadet's ship rocked violently. Evasive maneuvers. The pilot shouted, weaving between fire. Another dropship was hit, spinning out of control, before vanishing in flame, but the Valiant provided cover. Its heavy cannons roared, smashing into the flagship's hull. The monstrous vessel turned to respond, giving the dropships the opening they needed. The cadet's ship slammed into the flagship's surface. Magnetic clamps locked on. The Marines burst out, rifles blazing. The hull was alive, tendrils of black metal and flesh lashing at them. Energy bolts ripped through the air. Marines shouted, pushing forward with disciplined fire. The cadet followed close, his weapon trembling in his hands. Alien defenders poured from the ship, grotesque creatures with armor fused into their skin, eyes glowing red like the hull itself. They screeched as they attacked, but the Marines stood firm, cutting them down in bursts of light. Inside the council chamber, the delegates watched the live feed in silence. The same aliens who once mocked humanity now leaned forward, eyes wide. The Kaloran muttered under his breath, almost in disbelief. "They fight like demons," the Drath delegate hissed, awe filling his voice. "No, they fight like humans." The boarding party pushed deeper into the ship. Hallways twisted unnaturally, pulsing with veins of red light. The walls seemed to breathe, shuddering with every step. "Stay close," the Marine commander barked. "We move fast. The Corps won't wait for us." The cadet's heart raced, but something inside him burned brighter than fear. Every step forward was proof. Proof that humanity would not bow. Proof that Earth's warriors stood tall, even when the galaxy doubted them. Suddenly the floor shook. A roar echoed through the corridors, so deep it rattled their bones. Out of the shadows, a colossal guardian emerged. Twice the size of a tank, armored in plates of black bone. Its mouth opened wide, dripping fire. Marines raised their rifles. "Contact! Heavy unit!" The cadet froze for a moment, staring at the monster. This was not a soldier. This was a beast built to destroy entire squads. One wrong move, and the boarding mission would end here. The Guardian charged, claws smashing into the walls, sparks raining down. The Marines fired everything they had. Explosions lit the corridor, but the beast kept coming. The cadet felt his hands tighten on his weapon. He knew what had to be done. His voice broke through the chaos. "Aim for the joints. Bring it down together!" The Marines shifted fire. Energy bolts tore into the creature's limbs. The Guardian roared, stumbling, but still it fought, slamming into the squad. One Marine was thrown against the wall, armor shattering. Another was crushed under a claw. The cadet's heart pounded as he aimed. He fired, each shot striking the glowing cracks in its armor. Step by step, the beast weakened. At last, with one final blast, the Guardian collapsed, crashing into the floor with an earth-shaking thud. The Marines stood panting, wounded but alive. The commander looked at the cadet. For the first time, respect filled his eyes. "Good call, Cadet. You just saved us." The cadet nodded, but his gaze turned deeper into the ship. The pulsing of the core grew louder. The walls shook with power. They were close. The corridor ahead split open, revealing a chamber glowing with blinding red light. At its center pulsed the living core of the flagship, enormous and beating like a heart. The cadet whispered, "That's it, the core, but it's awake." The chamber opened like a wound in the ship's flesh. Walls pulsed with red veins of light, and the air was thick with heat and static. At the center, the living core glowed like a massive heart, each pulse shaking the floor beneath their boots. The cadet's breath caught in his throat. It was alive. Not just a machine, not just energy, but something greater, something ancient. The Marine commander raised a fist, signaling the squad to halt. "Weapons ready. That thing is our target." The core throbbed again, releasing a wave of soundless pressure. The Marines staggered as visions pierced their minds. Burning worlds, fleets torn apart, entire species screaming in their final moments. One soldier collapsed, clutching his helmet, yelling, "It's inside my head!" The cadet gritted his teeth. He felt the invasion claw at his thoughts too. Whispers filled his mind, cold and sharp. "You are nothing. You are weak. You will be erased like the rest." But he pushed back. His voice cut through the whispers. "No, humanity doesn't bow." The visions flickered, breaking for a moment. The core pulsed again, louder now, as if angered. Back in the council chamber, delegates leaned forward, pale and shaken as the feed displayed the boarding team. The Kaloran muttered in disbelief. "The core, it speaks." The speaker's silver skin glowed faintly. Not speaks, it invades. It consumes willpower itself. Only minds of iron can resist. On the flagship, the Marines pressed forward. Rifles fired, bolts of energy slamming into the glowing walls. The core shrieked, a sound that rattled their bones. But the attacks left only scorched marks. "It's shielding itself," the commander shouted. "We need heavier firepower!" One Marine slung a heavy launcher off his back, firing a charged rocket. The explosion shook the chamber, tearing a chunk of glowing flesh from the wall. The core flared, its light dimming for a heartbeat. The cadet saw it. "That heard it! Keep the pressure on!" The Marines fired in unison, barrage after barrage, slamming into the chamber. But with each strike, the core adapted. Its glow grew brighter, stronger. The chamber walls opened like jaws, and from them spilled creatures, twisted defenders born of the ship itself. Dozens of them, they charged, claws slashing, eyes burning red. The Marines fought desperately, gunfire lighting the chamber. The cadet ducked under a claw, firing into the creature's chest. It screeched, collapsing in smoke, but more came. Always more. "Hold the line!" The commander roared, blasting another into pieces. The cadet's mind raced. The creatures weren't just protecting the core, they were the core. Every fallen one fed its pulse, its heartbeat growing louder. He shouted over the chaos. "We're wasting time! We have to hit the heart directly." The commander glanced at him, sweat dripping inside his helmet. "How?" The cadet pointed to the pulsating center. "I can feel it. That's its brain, its will. If we strike there, it dies." The Marines hesitated. To reach the heart meant crossing the chamber under endless fire. It was suicide. The cadet stepped forward, voice hard. "I'll go." "Cover me, cadet! No time!" he snapped. "You want this thing destroyed? Let me through." The commander met his gaze for a long moment, then nodded. "Cover him!" No one lets him fall. Gunfire erupted as the squad formed a wall of fire. The cadet broke into a sprint, weaving between blasts, leaping over twisted bodies. The whispers in his head grew louder. "You cannot win. You are dust. You are nothing," he shouted back with every step. "I am human. I fight!" Bolts grazed his armor. Claws slashed near his face, but he pressed on. The heart loomed ahead, glowing brighter, beating faster. Each pulse felt like a hammer against his chest. Finally, he reached it. The core towered over him, alive and burning with energy. He raised his weapon and fired point-blank into its surface. The bolt sank in, and the core screamed, a sound that shook the ship to its foundations. For a moment the light dimmed. The chamber trembled. The creatures faltered. The cadet fired again and again. The core writhed, its glow flickering like a dying sun. But then the heart opened. A great slit tore down its center, revealing a massive eye inside. It stared at him, endless and alien, red light burning like fire. The cadet froze as the voice filled his head, no longer whispers, but thunder. "So, you are the one, the child who dares." His weapon shook in his hands. Around him, Marines shouted, firing desperately to hold back the horde. The chamber burned with chaos, yet the eye focused only on him. The core's voice thundered through his mind, "You are mine now, human." The eye flared with crimson light, and the cadet was pulled from his own thoughts into the heart of the enemy. The cadet's world vanished. No ship, no Marines, no battle. Only darkness. Then the eye appeared before him, endless and burning red. Its voice echoed through the void. "You cannot fight me. I've erased empires older than your world. I have devoured suns. I will erase Earth as I erased all the others." The cadet stood alone, trembling. Yet even in this void, he clenched his fists. "You will not erase us. Humanity is more than ships and weapons. We are will. We are fire. We endure." The eye narrowed. "Endure, you are dust. Show me your strength, little human. Show me and I will break it." In that instant, visions tore through him. Cities burning, oceans boiling, earth in flames. He saw his people screaming, his home shattering. But behind the horror, he saw something else. Faces of human soldiers standing tall, families refusing to bow, voices shouting in defiance. The cadet roared, breaking the illusion. "We don't bow to monsters. We fight to the last breath." The void shattered. He snapped back to the chamber inside the flagship. The eye still glared down, but its power wavered. The cadet lifted his weapon. His voice rang out, not just to the Marines, but through the open comms to the entire fleet, to the Council, to every corner of the galaxy. "Humanity stands, and we will not fall." The Marines cheered, voices filled with fire. Gunfire lit the chamber. Rockets slammed into the heart. The core shrieked, cracks splitting across its glowing surface, but the flagship fought back. The walls erupted with fresh defenders, pouring into the chamber in endless waves. The ship shook violently, its superweapon charging again. Time was running out. On the Valiant's bridge, alarms blared. "Captain, the flagship is powering its main cannon. 30 seconds until discharge." Captain Arden's jaw tightened. He turned to his crew. "If that weapon fires, it's over. Ready the Valiant for a ramming course." The bridge went silent. Every officer knew what that meant. The Valiant would not survive. The captain's voice was steady. "We will give them the opening they need. For Earth, for humanity." The Valiant's thrusters roared, engines screaming, as the mighty warship dove straight toward the flagship. Inside the core chamber, the cadet heard Arden's voice through the comm. He froze. "Captain." "You can't." Arden's voice was calm. "I can. Finish it, cadet. Make humanity proud." The cadet's eyes burned. He turned back to the glowing heart. "We'll finish it together." The Marines pressed forward with renewed fury. Every shot tore deeper into the core. Cracks widened, spilling burning light. The flagship shrieked, its voice echoing like thunder. "You will die with me." The cadet sprinted to the base of the heart. He ripped a high-yield charge from a fallen Marine's pack, slamming it into the glowing cracks. "Cover me!" The Marines unleashed a storm of fire, holding the horde back as the cadet set the detonator. Beads of sweat ran down his face, but his hands were steady. The Valiant smashed into the flagship's hull, tearing through layers of black flesh and metal. Explosions erupted across its surface. The capital's sky lit with fire as two giants clashed above the planet. The cadet's comm crackled with Arden's final words. "Now, cadet, end it." The detonator flashed green. The cadet slammed his hand down. A deafening explosion tore through the chamber. The heart screamed one last time before shattering, its red light collapsing into nothingness. The entire flagship convulsed, breaking apart from the inside. The Marines were thrown back, shields straining, but the core was gone. In orbit, the galaxy watched in stunned silence as the once invincible flagship cracked like glass, fire bursting from its veins. Then, with a final roar, it exploded, scattering into the void. On the ground, the alien council stared at the fading flames in disbelief. The Kaloran, once mocking, whispered, "They did it. The humans did it." The speaker rose, silver light rippling across his form. "No, he did it. A cadet from Earth. Remember this day, for it is the day humanity stood tall where we fell." In the ruins of the flagship, emergency lights flickered. The surviving Marines dragged themselves to their feet. Smoke filled the air, but they were alive. The cadet coughed, his armor scorched, his body bruised. Yet he stood. His gaze drifted to the stars, where the Valiant had vanished. His voice was quiet but firm. "We finished it, Captain. Humanity made you proud." Above, Earth shone bright against the dark. A fragile world, yet unbroken. And for the first time, the galaxy did not laugh at humanity. They watched. They listened. They feared, for humanity had risen. And humanity would rise again,